The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council echoed with laughter. Representatives from hundreds of alien species gathered, filling the space with their voices and strange languages. They had all come to witness something they found both amusing and unbelievable. The Council had decided to grant humanity custody of the royal heiress of the Zicani Empire, Princess Kara. Princess Kara was no ordinary alien. She was intelligent and well-educated, but the galaxy judged her harshly because of her appearance. By Zicani standards, Kara's greenish skin and small eyes were considered unattractive. Worse still, she was seen as weak and quiet, lacking the fierce strength her people valued. The Council believed she was nothing but a burden, and when the Zicani offered her as a gift to humanity, it was mostly as a joke. Captain Lina Torres, humanity's representative at the Council, stood tall as she listened to the announcement. The aliens around her whispered and laughed. They expected her to look embarrassed, even insulted. After all, humanity was known for its pride, and receiving such an ugly and useless gift was surely a disgrace. The council leader, an alien with bright orange scales and long, thin limbs, spoke in a mocking tone. "Humans, we grant you the honor of caring for the royal Zicani Heiress, Princess Kara," he announced with a smirk. "We trust you will make her feel welcome." The crowd erupted into laughter. Captain Torres could feel hundreds of eyes watching her, waiting for her reaction. But instead of looking ashamed, she calmly nodded and said, "Humanity accepts the honor of hosting Princess Kara." The laughter died down, replaced by a murmur of confusion. The council members had expected her to reject the offer, to show her anger at being ridiculed. But Torres showed no anger. She looked calm, serious even. Her calmness made the council members shift uncomfortably. One alien stepped forward, unable to hold back his curiosity. "Captain Torres, do you understand what you're accepting? Princess Kara is different from what humans may find appealing." Torres didn't flinch. "Humans value what's inside," she replied firmly. "Our alliance with the Zicani Empire is important to us. We don't see Princess Kara as a burden, but as a person like anyone else." More whispers spread through the hall. The council members exchanged glances, some looking uneasy. They couldn't understand why humans would willingly accept someone they all saw as worthless. This was supposed to be a joke, a way to embarrass the humans. But Captain Torres's serious response made them feel as if they had underestimated humanity's sense of honor and kindness. Seeing the council's confusion, Torres hid a small smile. She knew humanity's decision would surprise them, maybe even make them rethink their assumptions. And in her heart, she knew this was just the beginning. She was determined to show them that humanity didn't care about appearances or shallow judgments. For humans, respect went beyond looks. It was about character, courage, and the strength of one's heart. As the council session ended, the aliens left the hall, still puzzled by humanity's calm acceptance of the unwanted princess. But for Captain Torres, this was the first step in proving that humanity saw value where others saw weakness. In the quiet of the now empty hall, Torres felt a new sense of purpose. She would make sure the galaxy would soon see humanity's strength, and perhaps even Princess Kara's hidden worth. Captain Lina Torres stood outside the quarters where Princess Kara waited. She took a deep breath, preparing herself. She'd heard about Kara's appearance, and how others saw her as weak and unattractive. But Torres didn't care about appearances. She believed in giving people a chance to show who they really were inside. As she entered, she saw the young princess sitting quietly, her greenish skin and small, worried eyes focused on the floor. She looked up as Torres stepped in, her expression cautious, almost afraid. "Hello, Princess Kara." Torres greeted her warmly, keeping her voice gentle. "I'm Captain Lina Torres, and I'm here to welcome you to our ship and to humanity." Kara's eyes flickered with a mix of surprise and relief. She had expected to be treated as an outcast or a burden, just as she had been by her own people and the Galactic Council. But Torres didn't seem disgusted or annoyed. She was calm, even kind. "Thank you, Captain," Kyra replied softly. Her voice was barely above a whisper, as if she feared speaking too loudly might invite criticism. I didn't expect this." Torres sat down across from her, trying to make her feel comfortable. "I understand that your journey here might not have been easy, Princess," she said. "But you're among friends now. We're honored to have you with us." Kara looked down, a faint smile appearing for a moment before it faded. "It's hard for me to believe that. Everywhere I go, people judge me for, well, how I look. In my own empire, they say I don't fit the image of a strong Zikani leader. And the council, they only offered me to humanity as a joke." Torres nodded, understanding the pain in Kara's voice. She saw a young woman who had been judged and cast aside simply because she looked different. "Well, I'll tell you something about humans," Torres said, her voice full of conviction. "We don't care much about appearances. We look at what a person can do, what's in their heart and mind. And I have a feeling that there's a lot more to you than others realize." Kara's eyes brightened, filled with a glimmer of hope. No one had ever spoken to her this way. In her world, strength and appearance were everything. Here, it felt like there was a chance for her to be more than just the unwanted princess. "Do you really believe that?" Kara asked, almost afraid of the answer. "Yes, I do," Torres replied firmly. "You have a chance here to show everyone what you're truly capable of. And we're ready to help you, no matter what the council thinks." Kara looked around the room, feeling this strange sense of comfort. This wasn't what she had expected. For the first time, she felt like someone believed in her, saw her potential, and wanted her to succeed. Her heart warmed, and she sat a little straighter, her confidence growing bit by bit. "Thank you, Captain Torres," Kara said, her voice steady. "I'll do my best to prove myself." Torres smiled. "That's all we ask. And remember, you're not alone here. You're with us now, and we're stronger together." As they finished their conversation, Kara felt a weight lifting from her shoulders. She was still nervous, unsure of what lay ahead, but for the first time, she felt hopeful. Perhaps with the humans, she could finally be more than what others saw on the surface. News of humanity's decision to welcome Princess Kara spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Every communication channel buzzed with stories, interviews, and opinions about the humans' surprising choice. The council had expected humans to feel insulted, but instead, Captain Lina Torres had accepted Kara with respect and kindness. This left the galaxy both puzzled and amused. On the outer worlds, alien news anchors chuckled as they reported the story. In a shocking move, humans have accepted the Zikani Heiress, known for her unique appearance. One reporter sneered. Have humans truly become so desperate for attention? Others were blunter, calling humanity foolish for taking in someone the galaxy considered a burden. The council members, who had once been so amused by the plan, now found themselves uneasy. Their laughter faded as they realized that humans hadn't reacted as expected. Many council members had wanted to embarrass humanity, but instead, humans were gaining attention for their unexpected kindness. Meanwhile, on Earth, people saw the news and responded with mixed feelings. Some humans questioned why their leaders would accept such a strange gift, wondering if it would bring trouble with the Zikani Empire. But many others were curious about Kara, eager to learn about the alien princess and her story. Human media took a different approach from the rest of the galaxy. Earth's reporters highlighted Kara's background, mentioning her intelligence and courage. One popular Earth news show aired a segment about Kara's journey, framing her as someone misunderstood and underappreciated. "She might not look like us," the host said, "but her story of feeling judged and cast aside is one that humans can understand. We've all been underestimated at some point." The show quickly gained popularity, and soon, social media on Earth was flooded with messages of support for Kara. People began to see her not as a strange-looking alien, but as someone who deserved respect and a second chance. As the positive response grew, Kara, still on Captain Torres's ship, felt overwhelmed. Torres shared some of Earth's messages with her, showing her the supportive comments. They don't hate me?" Kyra asked, her voice a mixture of disbelief and wonder. "Not at all," Torres replied with a smile. "Many humans think you're brave for coming here. They understand what it's like to be judged, just like you've been." Kyra's eyes brightened with a new confidence. For so long, she'd felt like a burden, something her people were happy to get rid of. But now, she felt a warmth from humanity she had never felt before. She started to believe that maybe, just maybe, she could find a place among them. Back at the council, the members watched the unexpected shift in humanity's response with growing concern. The plan to embarrass humans was backfiring. Instead of looking foolish, humanity appeared kind, accepting, and surprisingly strong. Other alien species, noticing this change, began to question their own prejudices. Some even considered reaching out to humanity for friendship, drawn by the humans' willingness to see beyond appearance. But the council wasn't ready to give up. Some members whispered among themselves, plotting a new plan to keep humanity in its place. They didn't like the idea of humans growing powerful allies, especially with someone as knowledgeable as Kara on their side. Yet, despite their plans, humanity and Kara continued to grow closer. And the galaxy, slowly but surely, began to pay attention to a new truth. Humans didn't just accept what was given to them. They embraced it, saw its potential, and gave it a chance to shine. Captain Lina Torres paced through the ship's command center, looking over the latest data reports. The humans had accepted Princess Kara into their fold, but there was still so much to learn about her. The galaxy had written her off as weak and useless, but Torres had a feeling there was more to Kara than anyone realized. She had seen the flicker of intelligence in her eyes during their first meeting. It was time to discover what Kara was truly capable of. Torres arranged a meeting with Kara in the ship's research lab. Kara had been spending more time with the human crew, trying to adapt to their ways, but it was clear that she was still holding something back. Torres wasn't sure what it was yet, but she was determined to find out. When Kara entered the lab, she looked nervous. Her eyes flicked from the high-tech equipment to the humans working around her. "I'm sorry, Captain, I don't know if I can be of any help," she said softly, shifting her weight from one foot to the other. Torres smiled, encouraging her. "You'd be surprised what you know. Just give it a try. No pressure." Kara hesitated for a moment, then slowly moved towards one of the consoles. She began examining the data on the screen, her fingers lightly tapping the controls. Torres watched closely, unsure of what Kara was doing. But soon, she saw Kara's eyes light up with excitement as she worked. "Wait," Kara said softly, tapping a few more keys. This is wrong. You're missing a key element in your analysis here. You need to calculate the power fluctuations in the nearby star's radiation. It's affecting the system's navigation data." Torres blinked in surprise. "How did you?" Kara smiled shyly, her greenish skin flushed with embarrassment. "I was trained in astrophysics back on Zikin. I never had the chance to apply it. But I can help." Torres stood in awe. This wasn't just a royal heiress without a purpose. Kara had a deep understanding of complex scientific principles, skills that many human scientists had struggled with. She wasn't weak or useless at all. She was brilliant. Without wasting any time, Torres called over some of the ship's lead scientists. The team gathered around Kara, their skepticism quickly fading as she began explaining her calculations. She wasn't just sharing ideas. She was teaching them things they hadn't considered before. Her knowledge of stellar energy and space navigation systems was far beyond what the humans had learned in their short years of space exploration. Over the next few days, Kara worked closely with the scientists, solving complex problems and designing new solutions for the ship. She quickly became a valued member of the team, and as she shared more of her insights, her confidence grew. She no longer seemed like the quiet, timid princess who had been afraid of judgment. She was becoming a leader in her own right. Captain Torres watched this transformation with pride. She had known from the beginning that Kara was special, but now the entire crew saw it. Kara wasn't just a gift from the Zicani Empire. She was an ally, someone who could help humanity reach new heights in science and technology. The more Kara shared, the more the humans realized just how much potential she had. The galaxy may have seen her as a burden, but humans were starting to see her as a key to their future. And as they worked together, they began to understand. This was only the beginning of what they could achieve. The crew of the U.S. venture had come to respect Princess Kara. She had proven herself as an expert in astrophysics, and her knowledge of Zicani technology had helped the humans improve their systems. But what they didn't know was that Kara's true strength went far beyond science. It was time for them to discover what she was really capable of. It all started one quiet evening on the ship. Kara was in the ship's command center, reviewing some technical data. Captain Lina Torres walked in, intent on discussing the latest mission updates. But as she stepped inside, she saw something that caught her attention. Kara was staring intently at the star maps, her face serious. Her hands were trembling slightly, but there was a deep focus in her eyes. "Princess Kara," Torres asked softly, stepping closer. "Is everything okay?" Kara didn't respond immediately. Instead, she tapped a few commands into the console, causing the star map to zoom in on a distant part of space. After a long pause, she spoke, her voice low but clear. "There's a disturbance, a powerful one, near the core of the Zicani Empire. It's not just a natural phenomenon. It's something artificial, and it's growing stronger." Torres moved closer, trying to understand. "What do you mean, artificial?" Kara's fingers hovered over the controls, and the map changed again. She highlighted a region of space where energy readings spiked suddenly. "This," Kara explained, "is a weapon. It's a controlled burst of energy, directed at key areas of the Empire. If it keeps growing, it will cripple the entire system." Torres stood still, feeling the weight of Kara's words. "How do you know this?" she asked, her voice filled with both awe and concern. Kara took a deep breath, her eyes lowering for a moment. "I didn't want to say anything. It's part of the Zicani military's secret project. I helped develop this technology before I was cast aside. I knew how to control it, but I didn't realize it was being used for destruction until now." Torres felt her heart race. The weapon Kara spoke of was dangerous, and it could change the balance of power in the galaxy. But this was Kara's chance to show her true worth. She wasn't just a princess. She was a brilliant mind with the knowledge to prevent a galaxy-wide disaster. "We need to stop it," Torres said firmly. "Can you help us take it down?" Kara nodded, her face now filled with determination. "I can. I know how to disable it, but it won't be easy. It's hidden deep inside the Zicani space, in a fortress heavily guarded by their military." Captain Torres didn't hesitate. "Then we'll go there together. We've got the strength of humanity on our side, and with your knowledge, we can stop this threat." The crew quickly set the course for the Zicani Empire. As they prepared for the mission, Kara's mind raced. She was no longer the princess people had written off. She wasn't a weak, unwanted burden. She was the key to saving millions of lives. Her power, the knowledge and technology she had once feared using, was now her greatest weapon. As the U.S. venture moved closer to the Zicani heart of the galaxy, Kara stood tall beside Captain Torres. The galaxy might have laughed at her before, but now they would see. She wasn't just a princess, she was a hero. And together, humans and Kara would stop the weapon and protect the future of the galaxy. "You said." As the U.S. venture approached the heart of the Zicani Empire, tension filled the air. The crew worked quietly, preparing for what could be their most dangerous mission yet. Captain Lina Torres sat in the command chair, eyes fixed on the forward view screen. The stars stretched out ahead, but somewhere beyond them was the fortress that housed the dangerous weapon Kara had warned them about. The Zicani military would stop at nothing to protect it. Princess Kara stood beside Torres, her face pale, but her eyes showed no fear. She was determined, but the weight of what was ahead pressed on her shoulders. This mission wasn't just about stopping a weapon. It was about facing her past, confronting the people who had rejected her, and proving her worth to herself and the galaxy. "Captain," Kyra said quietly, her voice steady, "the Zicani military will be ready for us. We're going to face heavy resistance. Their ships are fast and heavily armed. I've been part of their fleet before. They will not hesitate to destroy us." Torres turned to face Kiara, her expression firm. "We have to try. We can't let this weapon fall into the wrong hands. We're ready. I trust you." Kiara nodded, though she felt a knot form in her stomach. The Zicani military had once been her home, her people. Now she was an outsider, someone they considered a failure, someone who had turned against their plans. She couldn't help but feel the weight of their judgment as she thought of facing them again. As the ship continued its approach, the crew readied themselves for battle. They knew the mission would be risky, but the stakes were too high. If the weapon wasn't stopped, it would be the end of peace in the galaxy. The Zicani were known for their aggression, and if they succeeded in using this weapon, they could destroy entire star systems. In the moments before they entered Zicani space, tension was thick. Everyone on the ship knew what was at stake. It wasn't just about Kara's past. It was about the future of the galaxy. Humanity had a chance to stop a threat before it became too big to handle. The crew looked to Captain Torres, their leader, for guidance, and she gave them the strength they needed to face what was ahead. "All right, everyone," Captain Torres said, her voice calm but strong. "This is it. We've prepared for this moment. We know what we need to do. Kara, can you guide us to the weapon's location?" Kara stepped forward, her eyes scanning the map on the screen. "Yes," she replied, her voice clear. "The weapon is hidden in the center of their fortress. I can help you navigate the defenses, but once we get close, it's up to you to get us through." Torres nodded. "We'll make it work. We have the element of surprise. Let's use it to our advantage." The ship entered Zicani space, and the tension grew. The crew could feel the heat of the approaching battle. Kara, though nervous, felt a surge of determination. She wasn't going to let her people, or humanity, down. This mission was more than just about stopping a weapon. It was about showing the galaxy that she wasn't weak or a failure. As they moved deeper into enemy territory, the silence on the bridge was deafening. Everyone knew the fight was coming. The real test of their strength was just around the corner, and no one knew what would happen next. The U.S. Venture was now deep within Zicani space. The ship's engines hummed quietly as the crew prepared for the most critical part of their mission, breaking into the Zicani fortress and stopping the weapon that could destroy the galaxy. Kara stood beside Captain Lina Torres on the bridge, her mind focused but her heart racing. She had helped guide them this far, but now it was time to face her past and her true power. "Kara," Captain Torres said, breaking the silence, "we're almost there. Can you give us a way inside? We need to find the weapon before it's too late." Kara's greenish skin seemed to glow in the dim light of the bridge. Her eyes narrowed in concentration. "I can do it," she said softly. "I know the layout of the fortress, but we'll have to move quickly. Once we're inside, we'll have only a short time before they notice us." The crew looked to Kiara with respect. She had shown them time and time again that she was not the weak, unwanted princess the galaxy believed her to be. She was strong, smart, and determined. Now she had to prove her worth in the most important way possible. With Kara's guidance, the Venture maneuvered closer to the fortress. Zicani ships patrolled the area, but they didn't expect an attack from humans. The element of surprise was on their side. The crew quickly dropped out of hyperspace, cloaking their ship and entering the fortress's atmosphere undetected. The fortress loomed ahead, a massive structure of cold metal and harsh angles. As they neared the entrance, Kara felt a familiar weight on her chest. The sight of her old people, her old empire, brought memories of rejection and shame. But she refused to let that stop her. This was her chance to show them, and herself, who she truly was. The venture landed silently, its engines barely making a sound. Kara led the crew through the fortress's dark hallways, guiding them with a steady hand. As they moved deeper into the heart of the building, the tension grew. Every shadow seemed to hide a potential threat. Kara's breath was shallow, her senses heightened as she led them past armed guards and hidden cameras. At the heart of the fortress, they found it, the weapon, a massive energy cannon, glowing with a dangerous, pulsing light. The power it contained was enough to destroy entire star systems. Kara's stomach twisted with fear. This was what the Zikani had created, and now she had to stop it. "It's worse than I thought," Kara whispered, her eyes scanning the weapon. The weapon's power core is linked to a network of energy conduits throughout the entire fortress. If we destroy it, the whole station could collapse. Captain Torres nodded. "Then we'll have to be precise. We're counting on you, Kara." Kara took a deep breath, her mind racing. This was it, the moment she would prove to the galaxy that she was more than just a forgotten princess. She had the knowledge and the power to stop this, and she would not fail. Kara approached the weapon's control panel. Her hands shook slightly, but she focused on the task at hand. As her fingers danced across the keys, the hum of the weapon grew louder. The crew waited, watching her closely. Suddenly, a sharp sound filled the room. The doors burst open, and Zikani soldiers flooded in, weapons raised. But Kara didn't panic. She closed her eyes, remembering everything she had learned in her training, everything she had kept hidden. With a wave of her hand, a shockwave of energy burst out from Kara, knocking the soldiers back. The air around her shimmered, glowing with an otherworldly power. She had unlocked her full potential, the ability she had always kept hidden. Kara wasn't just a scientist. She was more than that. She was a force to be reckoned with. The soldiers staggered to their feet, but Kara's power held them back. "Get to the control panel," she shouted to Captain Torres. Torres and the crew quickly moved to destroy the weapon's core. With Kara's power pushing the soldiers back, they had the time they needed. In moments, the weapon was disabled, and the fortress's lights flickered as the weapon's core began to collapse. Kara's energy field slowly faded as the soldiers retreated, their weapons powerless against her. She stood tall, breathing heavily, but filled with a new sense of strength. She had done it. Not only had she stopped the weapon, but she had also unlocked a power deep inside her, one that the galaxy had never seen before. The crew stood in awe. They had always known Kara was special, but now they saw the full extent of her potential. She was no longer the princess they had taken in. She was a true hero, and the galaxy would never look at her the same way again. The venture had barely escaped the fortress before the Zikani military responded. Kara's heart raced as she watched the enemy ships appear on the radar. Their mission had been a success. They had destroyed the weapon and stopped the galaxy's greatest threat. But now, the true battle was beginning. "Captain Torres," Kara said, her voice steady but filled with urgency. "The Zikani won't just let us go. They'll be coming after us. We have to prepare for a fight." Torres turned to face her, her expression serious. "I know. We'll make our stand here, in the outer reaches of Zikani space. It'll give us a chance to defend ourselves, but we can't waste time. If we don't hold them off, they'll send everything they have." The crew had already moved into battle stations, and the hum of the ship's engines shifted as the venture powered up. Kara could feel the tension in the air. The Zikani fleet was vast, and their ships were faster and more powerful than anything the humans had ever encountered. But they were not alone. Humans had something the Zikani didn't: determination, teamwork, and now Kara's unique abilities. "We've got this," Captain Torres said, her voice filled with resolve. "Prepare for battle. All hands, brace for impact." Kara stepped back, feeling the power of the ship around her. She had unlocked her true potential back in the fortress, and now it was time to use that strength to protect the crew. She stood in the middle of the command center, her hands trembling slightly. She knew the Zicani would attack in waves, trying to overwhelm them with sheer numbers. But Kara wasn't afraid. She had faced worse. As the first wave of enemy ships appeared on the sensors, the crew braced for impact. Zicani warships were massive, with weapons powerful enough to tear through their shields in moments. The Venture was fast, but it wasn't as heavily armored as the enemy ships. They would have to rely on speed and strategy. The battle began almost immediately. The Venture swerved to avoid incoming fire, its crew expertly manning the weapons and shields. Kara stood near the console, her eyes scanning the battlefield. "Captain," she called, her voice steady. "I can help. I can tap into the energy systems of their ships and disable their weapons temporarily." Torres glanced at her, nodding. "Do it. We need every advantage we can get." Kara closed her eyes, focusing. She reached out with her mind, feeling the electrical pulses of the enemy ships. It was a strange sensation, almost like she could hear their engines and weapon systems in her mind. With a deep breath, she extended her power. Waves of energy crackled in the air around her as she connected to the Zicani ship's systems. The first wave of enemy ships faltered. Their weapons powered down, and the Venture took advantage of the moment. The crew fired back, hitting the enemy ships with precision. Kara's power had given them the upper hand, but she couldn't hold it forever. The Zicani quickly regained control, and more ships appeared on the radar. "This won't be enough," Kara said, her voice strained. "They're regrouping. We need to move fast, or they'll overwhelm us." Captain Torres nodded. "We'll need to hit them hard and fast. We're not just fighting for our survival. We're fighting for the future of the galaxy." The Venture maneuvered through the battlefield, dodging enemy fire as it unleashed devastating blasts at the Zicani ships. The battle raged on, and Kara's power continued to disrupt the enemy systems, but she could feel her strength fading. She couldn't keep up this pace much longer. The Zicani fleet was too large. Suddenly, a massive Zicani warship appeared from behind a nearby moon. It was their flagship, and it was unlike anything the humans had seen before. Its size dwarfed the Venture, and its weapons looked far more advanced. The crew could feel the heat of its fire as it locked onto them. "This is it," Captain Torres said, determination in her eyes. "We either win this fight now, or we're done for." Kara knew what she had to do. This was her moment, her chance to show the galaxy that she was more than just a princess. She wasn't afraid anymore. With one final surge of energy, she connected to the flagship's weapons system, just as it prepared to fire. Kara's hands glowed with intense energy as she reached out. She pushed with all her might, and the Zicani ship's weapons system suddenly malfunctioned. The flagship faltered, its fire stopping just in time for the Venture to strike back. The Venture fired a massive blast, hitting the flagship's power core. The Zicani ship shuddered, its shields failing. The crew of the Venture cheered as the flagship exploded in a brilliant flash of light. The battle was far from over, but the tide had turned. Kara stood tall, breathing heavily, but with a sense of pride. She had proven her power, and in that moment, the humans saw her not as a princess or a forgotten heir, but as a true warrior. The fight wasn't over, but they had just won their first victory. The battle had begun, and they would not back down. The Zicani fleet had been pushed back, but the battle was far from over. The U.S. Venture had dealt a major blow to the enemy's flagship, but the remaining Zicani ships were regrouping. Kara stood on the bridge, breathing heavily, her energy drained from the intense battle. Yet, in the midst of it all, she felt a strange sense of hope. They had fought back against the Zicani, and now they were winning. Captain Linda Torres stood next to Kara, watching the Zicani ships retreat. "We've done it, Kara. They're pulling back. They didn't expect us to fight like this." Kara nodded, still feeling the weight of what had happened. "They thought they could crush us easily, but we're not like anyone they fought before." The crew of the Venture worked quickly, preparing for any remaining threats. But there was a change in the air. Something had shifted. The Zicani had seen the strength of humanity, not just in their ability to fight, but in the courage and unity they had shown. They had underestimated the humans before, but now they knew better. As the last of the Zicani ships retreated, the Venture made its way toward the edge of the battlefield. Heiress stood at the command console, staring out at the stars. She had come so far, once a princess cast aside, now a hero leading the charge alongside the humans. The galaxy had seen her power, and she had seen theirs. She wasn't the only one with strength. The humans had a strength that came from their will to survive, their refusal to back down, no matter the odds. "Captain," Kara said, her voice steady but filled with emotion, "I think they're starting to understand. The Zicani are beginning to see that we're not to be underestimated. Humans are more than they thought." Captain Torres smiled. "It's about time they learned. We've been underestimated by so many, but now they'll know who we really are." The message had been sent, loud and clear. The U.S. Venture had faced the full might of the Zicani military and had stood its ground. Kara's power, combined with the bravery of the humans, had turned the tide. The Zicani now had a new respect for humanity, and they would not soon forget what had happened. As the Venture left the battlefield, heading back toward a safer part of the galaxy, the crew began to reflect on what they had just accomplished. Kara was no longer the discarded princess. She was now a respected member of the team, a warrior in her own right. The humans had given her the chance to prove herself, and she had done so with grace and strength. Kara looked out at the stars, a feeling of peace washing over her. She had found her place, not just among the humans, but in the galaxy itself. She had shown everyone that she was not weak, and she had helped humanity earn the respect of the entire galaxy. The journey wasn't over. There would be more battles, more challenges, but humanity, with Kara by their side, was ready to face them. "We've earned their respect," Kara said quietly, turning to Captain Torres. "And now we'll show them what humans can really do." Captain Torres smiled, placing a hand on her shoulder. "Together, Kara, together, we'll change the galaxy." And for the first time in a long time, Kara felt like she belonged. The humans had not only saved the galaxy, they had given her a new purpose, and together, they would shape the future. The galaxy would never forget what had happened that day, and humanity's place among the stars was forever secure.